Okay, so at the beginning, I hope you remember, look at, enthused by great compassion, you taught the Miligura Dharma to dispel that perverted view. To Yoga Dharma, I pay homage, right? There's three things. The first sentence introduces us the motivation of the Buddhas. So Buddhas taught the teaching with a great compassion. Then, what is the main purpose? What is the main reason to taught the teaching? That means to dispel the perverted view. So Buddha taught all the teaching in order to dispel all the wrong views. Therefore, we study Dharma for quite a long time in order to dispel the perverted views. Each time when you study Dharma, when you open the Dharma book, you must think, I'm going to open this book in order to dispel the perverted view, the wrong views. All the problems we have in this life, we had in the past, we will have in the future, everything arises from the wrong view, wrong conceptions. Therefore, at the beginning, everybody think, today we all going to study about Buddhist science and psychology in order to dispel the perverted view, myself and all other sentient beings. So we have a wrong view about the nature of all phenomena, because all phenomena, the nature is emptiness, empty of inherent existence. But we don't realize it, so we think everything exists independently. Therefore, we have all the negative thoughts. Also, we have a wrong view about the timings. All phenomena actually is changing momentarily. For us, everything look like permanent. But we didn't realize things, the condition phenomena are impermanent, is changing momentarily. Suddenly when we are like 80 years old, 70 years old, then we realize, oh, now I am 80 years old. Then we feel upset, we feel very unhappy. Because at the beginning, we didn't realize things are changing momentarily. Nothing can exist more than one moment. Therefore, look at, things are arising, then also it's going to cease. Also, we must remember the purpose of study Dharma is very important. So if you study Dharma seriously, definitely you can be very happy person in this lifetime. Even though you don't have much, you don't have so many things around you, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a big house, you don't have an expensive car, you don't have expensive computer and mobile, you don't have a very expensive watch and jewelry, still you can be very happy with the Dharma. Also, when you lose your dear one, your dear parents, dear children, dear friends, dear husband and wife. When we lose our dear one, also we realize, yes, it's going to be happen. If you seriously practice Dharma, you won't be very upset about what happened for you. Therefore, study Dharma is very useful for this life. Also, is very useful for our next life. Because, for example, if we are able to control all our negative thoughts today, we have only positive thoughts today, then tomorrow morning when we woke up, we feel very peace, very happy. That means tomorrow happiness also depend on today's positive thoughts, positive mental attitudes. Same thing in the next life. All the happiness for next life also depend on this life. Therefore, the more you study Dharma, the more you must have, lot of positive mental attitudes, lot of positive thoughts, lot of positive actions. When you have a positive thoughts, the first makes you very happy. Second, the positive thought, the positive actions, the positive mental attitude can give effect to who stay around you. That means when you are happy, other people feel happy. When you are upset, when you are very angry, other people become very upset. Other people also get angry. Therefore, you must know the effect of the positive thoughts, the effect of the negative thoughts. Therefore, please, everybody must realize the purpose of study Dharma can be good for this life, good for next life, it can be good for after next life. At the end, if you seriously practice Dharma, we can be free from suffering and cause of suffering. We can be fully liberated from suffering and cause of suffering. In order to have these kind of things, we must know how to overcome, how to eliminate all the negative thoughts. Therefore, we need to study the Dharma. And also, in our lifetime, so being a monk, I have a very simple life. Also, my daily life is very simple. If I have a simple breakfast in the morning, I no need to worry anybody about. Right? As a lay person, so when you wish to have a simple breakfast, but your friends, your brother, sister, they are not happy with a simple breakfast. You have to cook. You must have a good breakfast. Then, as a monk, I have a very simple life. If I have $1, I can use myself. No need to share with other. For you, when you have a $1, the $1 have to share with many people. When you share 75 cents for other, you yourself not so happy. If you don't share 75% cents to your relatives, and they are not happy. So some problem is always there. We cannot really control. You cannot really make your relatives very rich. You wish your relative can be very rich. You wish your friends be very rich person, but you cannot. That time you have little bit depression. You have a lot of sense of worry. And that moment you must control this kind of worry, this kind of sadness, this kind of depression. Try to be happy with them, try to be happy yourself. So therefore it is so important to study. So when you study very seriously, you know what is good, what is bad. Which thing give you positive effect, which thing give you negative effects. So when you realize, yes, this thing not good because it give me a lot of negative effect, then you must abandon. You should not adopt it. So study Dharma is really good. So therefore you make you happy, particularly when we are old. sometimes everybody wish to have a long life. So if everything is good, it's good to have a long life. Otherwise, you have you did a lot of prayers, you did a lot of action to have a long life. But if things go wrong around you, then you feel very difficult. You have a long life, so things around you are nothing perfect, then you feel very upset, very unhappy. Therefore, if you have a Dharma knowledge, if you know how to control all the negative thoughts, then when you are 80 years, 90 years old, 100 years old, everything goes wrong around you, still you can keep the happy mind, you can keep the peaceful mind. At the same time, the more you face problems and difficulties, the more you can apply the Dharma. That means, when your enemy becomes very strong, you have to be very strong. Your enemy becomes very strong, you have to be very strong. Right? Therefore, it is so important to study Dharma. At the beginning, yes, you can see it's very difficult to understand. It's so difficult to apply. So therefore, you must study bit by bit. Today maybe 1 page or 2 pages, tomorrow 3 pages. Slowly, within 1 year or 2 years, the accumulation will be very big. So therefore, please, don't give up. Your study is good for you, good for this life, good for next life, after next life. Particularly when, it's really useful when you are very old. For example, when you go into Tibetan society, all the elderly people are very happy. Every morning they just go around the temple, they do a lot of recitation, chanting, they rest somewhere and have a tea and chit-chat, looks very happy. In Tibetan society, you cannot see the elderly people has the dementia, because their mind is very active. When they woke up, let's say, 3:30, 4 a.m., when they woke up, they do prostration. If they cannot do prostration due to the physical problem, they do a lot of recitation. They keep their mind very active. That's why in Tibetan society you cannot find very old people has a dementia. You cannot find old people has lost the memory. They have very clear, very vivid memory. The memory is very powerful. And now in society, modern society, you can see when people getting very old, the people slowly, lost the memory. Then slowly people have other, the mental problem, dementia problem. Because when they stop, working for company, then physically they are quite busy, mentally not that be busy. Therefore, slowly the brain going to be, dry, because the mind is not active anymore. Okay, so please don't give up your study. So today we study about what? Negation and affirmation, right? Affirmation. So before we start, I think we do short revision about the relation. What's the page number? 178. Okay, so the definition, the meaning of relation is very, very, very important. In general, there can be defined different types of relation. The relation or connection, like the one between a composite entity and its parts. That means there's a relationship between composite entity and what? Parts. For example, vase and components of the vase. Okay, there's a relationship between vase and the component of the vase. So once you learn, yes, the vase is as a whole. It has many parts. So when you learn the relation between vase and the parts, second, then you need to learn what is the relation between me and my five aggregates. Five aggregates. So when we say vase and the component of the vase, that means it shows the vase cannot be just single phenomena. It depends on many parts, like parts and whole. Second, you need to learn what is the relation between me and my five aggregates. Also, like the one between a juniper and a tree, which is the relationship of the pervaded and pervader, particular and universal, right? So what is the connection between vase and the parts? So what is the connection between tree and Jupiter, right? Juniper, kinds of tree. That means the tree is the general phenomena and juniper is a particular. So what we call this name? Pervader and pervaded. Pervaded and pervader. So the juniper is a pervaded. Then the tree is pervader. Right? There's a relationship between parts and whole, or parts and universal. The second, or like the one between being Buddhist and being Buddhist and being permanent. Right? Now, first we think about what's the relation between pot or vase and the components. Right? This relation we call relationship between parts and whole. The whole, the vase cannot be, exist without depend on the parts. Right? That means the vase depend on many parts, many conditions. Then when we have a problem, let's say, I have a problem, I have a mental problem, I have a physical problem. So the physical problem, like a headache cannot exist not depending on parts. It has many parts, it's a many condition, right? So when you learn the different connection between parts and whole, then second, when you get angry with someone, that moment we really think, something exists independently, not depend on anything else. Not like that. For example, when you have a fighting with your friends, you think the person is very bad, right? We think the person is very bad. We never think the fightings happen because of me, right? Without you, the person cannot be fight with you. When you have a fighting, you also part of the fighting, right? Part of fighting. So that means you also involved with the fighting. You also cause to get angry yourself. Therefore, when we get angry, we should not just pick-point that person, because you should think, oh, it's part of my problem. Without me, he or she cannot be angry. For example, vase. If the parts missing, there cannot be was. Right? Therefore, past and whole. Pervader and pervaded. Then, being Buddhist and being permanent. Things that are mutually inclusive, which is an intrinsic relationship, right? Between was and the component, between pervader and pervaded, between being Buddhist and being permanent. The relationship we call what? Intrinsic relationship. Among these, there must exist an intrinsic relationship between mutually inclusive phenomena, between a general set and subset, between past and whole, between composite entity and its constitute. This, the relationship that exists between any phenomena that are cause and effect, on the other hand, is the causal relationship. That means there are two types of, relationship. What are they? Intrinsic relationship. Then second is the causal relationship. Right? Causal relationship. Now, definition. What is the definition of the intrinsic relation? The definition of relation is this. Generally, definition of the relation. What is this? Yeah, right. That means you keep in your mind two things. That means it is different from that. It is different from that. Two things, right? That and the absence of that. That means it is different from that. That absence, right? The absence of that necessarily entails the absence of it. That means, let's say, fire. Right? Fire. Fire is different from the smoke. Clear? Number one. It is different from that means the fire is different from the smoke. Right? It is different from that. And the absence of, smoke is different from the fire. That means that fire absence. That means that absence of, the absence of that necessarily entail absence of it. Right? That means, for example, smoke. Smoke is different from the fire. Right? These are two things, right? Fire is different. And the absence, what the absence? The absence of that fire, they necessarily entail absence of the smoke. Clear? Is a definition of relation. So what is the relation between smoke and fire? That means smoke is different from the fire. The absence of the fire that necessarily entail the absence of the smoke. This is the definition of the relation. It's general. When I say fire and smoke, we talk about particular phenomena. Look at, it is different from that, and the absence of that necessarily entails the absence of it. For example, fire and smoke, mother and its baby, cause and its effect. Right? That means that cause, the effect is different from the cause. Cause, right? Effect is the effect is different from the cause. When the cause absence, then second, the effect must be absence. It is different from that, and the absence of that necessarily entails the absence of it. This means that and it dependent. This is the relation, definition of relation. Once more, look at it is different from that, and the absence of that necessarily entails the absence of it. Clear? So when you know the definition of the relation, now let's say happiness, right? So everybody who has a feeling, everybody, human or non-human being, everybody seeking happiness, right? Seeking happiness. So the happiness and the cause of happiness is different. It's a separate. It's a two things, right? The happiness and the cause of happiness is different. When the cause of happiness is absence, then the happiness must be absence. Right? Clear? So when you learn this one, so we got really good kind of we got good knowledge. Therefore, someday we wish to happy for whole day. We wish to have a happy, wish to be happy whole day, 24 hours. Yes, morning we are very happy, afternoon we are very upset. Afternoon we are very upset, then evening may be happy. Therefore, we cannot be happy for 24 hours. Why? Because the cause of the happiness not exists for 24 hours. 24 hours. Therefore, sometimes, the absence of cause of happiness absence. Then, second, happiness also absence. And we wish to be happy, we cannot be happy. Instead of having happiness, we have a suffering. Because the absence of happiness is absence, then we have a cause of suffering is there. Therefore, the suffering is there. Right? These are the connections. If different relation consists of two types. First, definition of the relation. How many types of relations are there? Two types. What are they? Relationship and the causal relationship. Intrinsic relationship. For example, being produced and being permanent. Being tree and being a juniper, right? Juniper, right? Juniper, right? Also, being a vase, being a parts of the vase. Their relationship we call intrinsic relation, right? So between pots and the parts, vase and the parts has a intrinsic relation. Then tree and Jupiter has a intrinsic relation. Because the juniper tree is part of tree. Right, part of tree. The parts of the vase is also part of the vase. Therefore, the relationship called intrinsic relationship. Intrinsic relationship. So therefore, what does mean intrinsic relationship? For example, vase and its parts. That means the vase depend on its parts. And the parts, the vase and the its parts is a two things, but intrinsically there's no separate. Intrinsically, in the natural level, there cannot be totally two separate. This idea we bring within, me and my five aggregates. Right? So we human being, me depend on my five aggregates. Clear? Me depends on my five aggregates. I cannot be totally separate from my five aggregates. I'm depend on it. Without the five aggregates, I cannot be exist. But me and my five aggregates are separate. But I cannot be totally separate. For example, you separate, the feeling, form, discrimination. You separate each of them separate from I. At the end, they cannot be I. It cannot be I. Therefore, what we call selflessness. Person is selflessness. Person cannot be exist as a self. It depends on five aggregates. That's we call, selflessness. The causal relationship. The definition of something intrinsically related to the phenomena is something that is distinct from the phenomenon because of being intrinsically the same as the phenomena. And if the phenomena does not exist, then it necessarily does not exist. For example, vase and the pots, tree and the Jupiter tree. So Jupiter tree depend on the tree. If there's no tree exist, then Jupiter tree cannot be exist because this relationship is a real relationship. When we say, my brother and me has a relationship, right? We say, we have a relative. We call relative. It's very interesting. Yes, the brother has a, connect with the parents. The sister has a connection with the parents. But between brother and sister, there won't be any connection. Because brother is not depend on the sister. Sister is not depend on the brother. There's no any connection in the reality. But conventionally, worldly, we say, yes, we are relative. Relative. Right? So, when you say relation mean, in order to exist something, other must be exist. Without other, it cannot be exist. Okay, what is the definition of the causal relationship? Yes. Yes, very good. Intrinsically distinct. Now, you keep two things in your mind: the relation between the intrinsic relationship and the causal relationship. Whichever has an intrinsic relation with someone or something, the two things must be same entity. Same entity. If there's a relation, between two things has a causal relation. Causal relationship means these things never be come together. Okay, for example, vase and the pots always together, right? For example, tree and Jupiter is together. But causal relationship is very interesting. For example, fire is the cause of the smoke. Clear? Smoke. If you think very precisely, very deeper level, very precise level, when there's a fire first moment, there could not be smoke, just fire. Second, then first moment fire produce smoke, right? Smoke. Clear? First there's a fire, then second there's a smoke. When the smoke arises, first moment the smoke arises, then the previous fire which is produce smoke is already cease, right? Cease. If the fire which is produce smoke, it cannot be ceased when the smoke arises. Cannot be ceased. That means the fire can be permanent. Understand? For example, first moment there's a fire, second moment there's a smoke. The smoke produced from the first moment time fire. Second time, right, when the smoke arise, come being to exist, then the fire which is produce smoke already cease. If the fire cannot be seized, then the fire become permanent, because they exist first moment, still exist second moment, third moment, then the fire can be permanent. So fire cannot be permanent, it is impermanent. That means all cause and effect. First moment cause, second moment effect, the cause cease. Okay? Therefore, the causal relation, if there's a causal relationship between two things, the two things never be coexist. Right? So you should keep in your mind there's two types of relationship: intrinsic relation and causal relation. Causal relation. So we study a little bit here. For example, the vase and the component of the vase has a what kind of relationship? Intrinsic relationship. Why we call intrinsic? Intrinsic or substantial? Because when you study between vase and its components, you cannot see separately. You say, oh, this is vase, this is its component. You cannot see separately. If you see separately, then finally you have to assert, you have to say the vase exists, not depend anything. Right? It cannot be. Therefore, when you really study, the relation between parts and the whole, then slowly you will understand, I, me, just depend on my 5 aggregates. Without 5 aggregates, I cannot be exist. I cannot be identified. But me and 5 aggregates, not one, not totally separate. That means I, me, nature is selflessness. Right? Selflessness. Then another relationship between being produced and being impermanent. Therefore, one thing, this book is is a produce, being a impermanent. One book is both is a permanent, it is a produce. But when we named produce, do you remember the isolation? Based on isolate from unconditioned phenomena. Isolate, separate from the, isolate from the unconditioned phenomena we call conditioned phenomena. Isolate from permanent phenomena that we call impermanent. In the substantial level, there cannot be two books. There's an impermanent book, there's a conditioned book. In the substantial level, there's a one book, but we give a two different name. That means two things, the conditioned impermanent books, conditioned books are two. Not true in the substantial level. It's become true because of the, remember, the conceptual. There's, remember, conceptual and no, isolate. No, there's a English name like a language. Yeah, no, there's a, they use very technical English here. Lyric says something, right? No, yeah, thank you. It's a very technical term they use here. Application. Allocation something, yeah. When we study about 1 and 2, no, delimitation. That means so important. For example, when you realize conditioned book, when you realize the conditioned book, you haven't realized impermanent book. That means there's two thoughts. One realize the conditioned book, other thoughts realize the impermanent books. That means the impermanent book and conditioned book are true because they are true conceptual thoughts, as well as there's a true deliberation, right? Deliberation, because there's two name. Okay. Then again, in the causal relationship. So when you realize, when you really understand the deliberation. When you really understand the definition of causal relationship, if you really understood, if you really believe in it, then when we say, is something happen miraculous, or something happen automatically, there's nothing miraculous, there's nothing automatically. Everything happen depend on the causes and condition. Therefore, sometimes you really has a huge problem. You just expect. You are expecting something miraculous which to be happen. Right? Never. Is happen, we should not call it is miraculous. Is something happen, is happen due to the causes and condition. Right? Therefore, once you study like Buddhist science and psychology, as well when you really feel I'm Buddhist, you should not believe something happen without causes and condition. Everything happen into our life depend on causes and condition. The cause was there, the effect is here. The effect cannot be here because there wasn't the cause. Cause, right? Therefore, human, as a human mind is very, naturally we have a we have a very strong desire to achieve so many things. It's nothing wrong, this kind of, having this kind of desire. You can have this kind of desire. When you have a strong desire to be something happens, strong desire to be very rich, then we must think, is there all the causes condition to be rich? Right? We never think. We always wish to be rich. That's why we try so many ways, so many things, we never be rich. Then finally you thought something wrong. So nothing wrong because there wasn't enough causes and condition. Right? Therefore, look at this, the topic is very important. Relation, cause and result. Therefore, so what Jardakirti said, the hearer and solitary realizer, the practitioner, arise from Buddha. Buddha, very interesting Buddha. The Buddha produced from Bodhisattva. And Bodhisattva was produced from three conditions: great compassion, bodhicitta, emptiness. Emptiness. That means when you practice bodhicitta, emptiness, great compassion, then you become Bodhisattva. When you become Bodhisattva, then finally you will become Buddha. When you become Buddha, then you can give a teaching. When you give a teaching, then some follower can be hearer, some follower can be solitary realizer, some follower can be Bodhisattva. Therefore, becoming Buddha is very much depend on Bodhisattva. Buddha depend on the Bodhisattva. Right? That means right now we are ordinary being. So when we accomplish bodhicitta, we become Bodhisattva. Then practice continuously the bodhicitta, finally we become Buddha. That means we have to be very practical, okay? So, yes, Buddha depend on Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva depend on bodhicitta, great compassion, emptiness. Within the emptiness and bodhicitta depend on great compassion. If you're not able to practice great compassion, right, compassion, then you cannot practice bodhicitta. Cannot practice bodhicitta, you cannot be Bodhisattva. You cannot be Bodhisattva, then you cannot be Buddha, because effect depend on the cause. The cause depend on the previous cause. Cause, right? Therefore, when we do practice, we do, lot of practice for purifying negative karma. So, we have a problem. All the problem, sufferings arise from negative karma. If you reduce negative karma, suffering going to be reduced. Right? Reduce. So, there's two types of suffering. One, suffering immediate condition. This immediate condition you cannot control much. There's another, primary condition to be suffered. This condition you can control if you reduce the negative karma. Therefore, you must have a deep understanding about the relationship. There's two types: intrinsic relationship and the causal relationship. Right? Causal relationship. You have to be very practical. Therefore, you can see, I met few Buddhist people who are Buddhists, but they have a lot of illogical belief. Illogical belief. No rational kind of belief. Their belief is very blunt, very shallow. Very shallow. Because, number one, they don't understand the relation, the definition of the relation. Second, they don't understand the definition of the intrinsic relation and causal relation. Right? Causal relation. So you must have a deeper understanding about the relation. Next, negation and affirmation. Affirmation is a bit difficult to understand. Also, is very important. Without having, proper understanding about negation and affirmation, then for us so difficult to understand emptiness. Emptiness. Therefore, look at negation and affirmation. The presentation of negation and affirmation is closely related to the grasping the theory of anapo exclusion or apa. Right? Apa is, I think, is a Sanskrit kind of Greek words. And so, exclusion, which is essential for understanding the nature of the reality, as well as how the mind engage reality. Engage reality. So therefore, we need to know the exclusion, because it is important to understand the reality. Also, it is very useful to know how the mind engage into the reality. What do you call exclusion? When one engages in the negation and affirmation, it becomes crucial to recognize the scope of negation through the logical reasoning. In all such as matter, understanding of the nature of the negation, affirmation remain for the vital importance. So you keep in your mind negation and affirmation. Why we need to learn? We need to learn in order to realize emptiness. Also in order to learn how the mind engage into reality. Because I think some of you already attend the wisdom class. At the beginning, remember, it is so important to identify the object of negation very carefully. Right? Negation. That means, so we need to recognize, we need to identify the negation. Negation. If you don't identify the negation, second, then you have a misunderstanding about the emptiness. Right? It is important. In general, whatever the given phenomena, so long as it is something that has a defined identity, one must define its identity in terms of the negating what it is not. What it is not. Right? That means generally, whatever the given phenomena, so long as it is something that has a defined identity, is talking about the existent phenomena. Therefore, defined identity. Then one must define its identity in terms of what? What is not. Negating what is not. Right? This said, phenomena such as a vase, a pillar, a tree, a flower, which are object of perception by what? Sensory consciousness. Right? We can see the pillar, we can see the tree, we can see the flower. Those are sensory object of perception by sensory consciousness. By themselves must be posited principally as a positive phenomena. This means, positive phenomena and the affirmation, right? Affirmation are similar meaning. Here, positive the meaning doesn't mean, negative and positive. When we say positive is good, when we say negative is bad, this positive meaning not really, positive and negative, the positive. This said, phenomena such as a vase, pillar, tree or flower, which are object of perception of the sensory consciousness, then by themselves must be posited principally as positive phenomena. Positive phenomena. It doesn't mean positive is a virtuous phenomena. Okay, first you keep the positive phenomena, same meaning as a affirmation. However, the negation of the non-was, now was and non-was. Non-was is the opposite of the was. Right? That means was and the non-was. However, the negation of non-was or of the non-pillar, which are defined by the elimination of their dissimilar class, since they are defined by the negation of their opposite, must be understood as a form of negation. Now you need to know the negation phenomena and positive phenomena. Positive phenomena meaning same as a affirmation. Now, in order to perceive, look at, when you look at the pillar by your eyes consciousness, right? When you perceive the pillar through your eyes consciousness, you no need to eliminate anything. You can see it, you can hear, right? That means look like the five sensories, or look like, the object is coming in what? Sound is coming here, the form is perceiving to your eyes, you no need to go there, right? When you look around, the object come to your eyes. When you walk on the market, you can smell. You no need to go to search the smell. No need to, it's come in, right? But the conceptual thought, they look like this, going, searching behind something, right? For example, when you look at, you can see the things. When you just listen, the sound come in, right? The thoughts, the conceptual thought need to think. What is this? It look like, let's say, there's a two-person, looks two-person. One person is very relaxed, just go around, whatever can see, he is very happy. The person is very happy. Another person is person is not as him. He's not happy to see something. He want to go and find out what is this, what is this. That means conceptual thoughts. For example, when you see book, see by the sensory consciousness. Then we need to know what about this. This book is good or bad. What is about this? This has nothing to do with the sensory consciousness. It's with the conceptual. That's why when the conceptual thoughts engage into object, they need to negate the non-vast, non-tree, non-books. Eliminate the negation. However, the negation of the non-vast or non-pillar, which are defined by what? How? By the elimination of their dissimilar class. Since they are defined by negation of the opposite. What's the opposite? Non-vast, non-pillar. Non-pillar is opposite of the pillar. Non-vast opposite of the vast. That means all the existent phenomena must has its own, negation. Since they are defined by the negation of their opposite, must be understood as a forms of negation. Thus, when one states that which is not known was, look at that which is known a was, or that which is not a known pillar, the reference is to something that is was or pillar. That means known was, right? Not known was, and was is synonymous, right? Book and not known book. For example, what is this? This is book, right? This is a candy. So this is a known book. It is the not known book. It is known book. It is the not known book. Non-known book means it's a book, right? Books. Okay. Not known book mean book. This is book. This is a known book. Known book. Book and known book. This is not known book because it is known book. Yeah, very good. Yeah, negative, positive, two negative, then become positive. Yeah, that which is not a known book or which is not known pillar, they refer to the something that was our pillar. As the saying goes, two negative makes a positive. Not known, there's two negative, right? This said, since the true not a known was and the known a pillar are defined by the negation of known was and known pillar, they are formed as a negation and not formation. Right? Therefore, so when we study the collective topic, at the average, all the young monks, they are very young, and they are also very clever to learn, this not known, non-knows, double, right? Very fast, right? Then also, then we say, this kind of debate is this is the debate of the young noble monks, young monks. It's good for discipline for the old monk. The old monk cannot thought very fast, right? Very easy to deceive. There's a previous. There's a, we skip the here substantial phenomena and the abstract phenomena, right? Page number 173. Substantial phenomena and abstract phenomena. Those are, when the little monks, they can learn very fast. Also, they can say very fastly. Very fastly, the elderly monk cannot remember that fast. They say these are the noble or young monks debate. It is good to deceive the old monks. Okay, so therefore negation and affirmation. So here now we did two things. The five sensory consciousness, right? The five sensory consciousness, when they engage into the object. For example, eyes consciousness engage into form, air, sound. That means when the five sensory consciousness engage into the five objects, not necessarily eliminate the negation, clear negation, the five sensory. Then the conceptual thoughts. For example, after five sensory consciousness, there are the five conceptual thoughts, which is arise after the five sensory consciousness. For example, when you see book, second we have a conceptual thought. Oh, this is a good book, this is a bad book, this is a big book, this is a small book. We discriminate many things. All thoughts we call conceptual. When the conceptual mind engage into the objects, they have to eliminate the negation, non-pillar, non-tree, non-book. They have to eliminate, have to purify the non-things in order to know the it things. Right? That means, simple you should think, there's a negation, there's a affirmation, there's a five sensory consciousness, sensory consciousness. When they engage into the object, no need to negate the negation. The conceptual thoughts, when they engage into the object, they need to they need to eliminate the negation, which is non-books, non-theory, the object in opposite. Yes, therefore I told you that, for example, the five sensory consciousness look like a mirror, right? The mirror. As I turn the mirror this side, the mirror can appear this statue. Appear to you all view. The mirror nothing to do. It just turn out, everything appear here. Right? That means the sensory consciousness engage into the object directly, no need any other things. The conceptual thought, conceptual mind need to think. For example, when you say beautiful object, the eyes saw the beautiful object. The mind thought, then second we thought, oh, this is nice. This is beautiful, this is nice. The mind which you think nice, it is not the sensory consciousness, it is the conceptual thoughts. They say, it is good. The thought thing, it is good, that means it eliminates the bad. When the thought say it is bad, also eliminate the good. Right? Therefore, the conceptual thought always look like, look like the five sensory consciousness is look like a very like a baby. When I'm not sure, we really don't know, we don't remember. When we are like say 3 months year old, the baby has the ability to think this is good, this is bad. Maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know. If you ask the baby, he cannot tell. When the baby grow up, he or she forgot. It's very interesting, for my experience, when I go for a walk, when I saw someone with a baby, he or she come with the baby, going with the baby, with the trolley, I never watch to the mother and the father. I just watch the baby, I just smell. Almost 90% baby smile back you. When you were without notice the parent, smallly, baby just wave the hand like that. Also, when you try, when you go around, you can see there's a mother coming with the baby or father coming, most, mainly at the mother or nanny. Always the baby can see you first, then the mother, then the nanny. The baby always can you see first. It's because they are very observing, watching around. Right? Therefore, really don't know, when they are very little, like 2-3 years old, they have a lot of thoughts or they don't have. But look like they can see everything, they don't have the thoughts, what is this, what is that. Look like the sensory consciousness look like very little baby. Then the conceptual thoughts look like the adult. The adult always has a lot of question. Why this, why not this, why this, right? Yeah, therefore the conceptual thoughts need to eliminate the negation. So, okay, so today we can stop here. Next, we go more slowly, because this topic is a very, very, very important. Lama Tsongkhapa said in the commentary on the engage into middle way, if you don't know the meaning, or if you don't have a good understanding of the negation, then you won't have the good understanding of emptiness. Emptiness. Because we need to negate the negation. If you don't know how to negate the negation, then definitely we have a misunderstanding about emptiness. Clear? Okay, so we can stop here. So please, don't give up. I know the topic is very difficult. One is the language. One is, I think, not having enough time to study. Right? It looks like it's so difficult. But please don't give up. It's useful for you now, also very useful in the future. Particularly when you are very old. It's very useful. I really can see, when I go around, I always, wish all the people who come to DBC study seriously. When they are like 80 years or 90 years old, they will be very happy on the wheelchair. Very happy, do recitation, do meditation, reflect all your study. Otherwise, what you can do? What I can do? Very boring, really boring. Okay, so dedication prayers.